Okay.
Say hello to your wife. All right, have a seat. Would you like to talk first and get it out of the way? Or would you like Caitlin read Nicole's first, or would you like me to go first?
You can read Nicole's and then I'll go.
Okay. Did you make any more edits?
I just redid it, just rewrote it.
Good morning, everyone. You may be seated. All right, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for your patience this morning. I apologize for my schedule being such that caused this to get moved back. And so I appreciate everyone's patience as we move through this process. Okay, these are case numbers 21 CR 451, 21 CR 1607, State of Ohio versus Adam Coy. Counsel, please enter your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Renee Amlin on behalf of the state of Ohio.
Good morning, Your Honor. May it please the court, I am Mark Collins, 006-1207,
And I'm Caitlin Stevens, 0095589.
both on behalf of Adam Coy, who was in the middle of us, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Okay, this matter is scheduled for sentencing today on behalf of the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the court is aware, a jury convicted former officer Adam Coy of murder, felonious assault, and reckless homicide back on November 4th of 2024 after approximately 2.5 days of deliberation. Mr. Coy was convicted for shooting Andre Hill 4 times and killing him in a garage on Oberlin Drive on December 22nd, 2020. After hearing all the evidence, the jury determined that in light of the facts and circumstances, that Mr. Coy's actions in using deadly force to shoot an unarmed man were not justified and were not what a reasonable officer would do. The events that occurred that night and during the early morning hours of December 22nd, 2020 are tragic. All the way around, the events were tragic. For all of the people who were involved and or all of the people who were affected by the events that occurred that night, it can likely be said that those were some of the worst nights of their lives. There is only one sentence for the court to impose here, and that is a sentence of 15 years to life for the murder conviction in count 1. It's the state's position that the other 2 counts were essentially backup charges and they would merge with count 1, the murder. So the state elects to proceed on count 1 and ask the court to impose the required sentence of 15 years to life. As part of that sentence, there is also a registration requirement for Mr. Coy to register as a violent offender. It's the state's understanding that that form has been completed as well. The state has calculated jail time credit in the amount of 274 days. There are several people present in the courtroom who would like to speak on behalf of Mr. Hill, and the state would like to present those people at the appropriate time.
Okay, now would be the appropriate time.
Thank you.
If you would please just state your name for the record.
Shauna Barnett.
Thank you, Ms. Barnett.
Okay, so I have two statements here. I have my sister's statement and I have mine. She's not here today.
Okay.
All right.
Just speak into the mic if you could.
Right here.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. First one's Michelle. I am Michelle, Andre Hill's sister, affectionately known as Baby Sis. My brother Andre was stolen from his family. He leaves behind sisters, brothers, a daughter, 3 grandchildren who affectionately called him Big Daddy, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, and many friends who loved him dearly. My brother was such a friendly man. He never met a stranger. He was a gentle soul who loved his family and friends wholeheartedly. The last time I saw my brother alive was at our sister's wedding. I remember us gathering together prior to the wedding to go over how everything should go. I remember Andre being so happy for this joyous occasion and super proud about how he was able to walk her down the aisle. He had to look his best for our sister. He proudly pulled out his suit that he was going to wear along with all the accessories that was going to go along with it, all the way down to the shoes. The next day, seeing him walk her down the aisle to give her away, he had the biggest smile I had ever seen on his face. He was such a proud brother, and it showed. He didn't stop smiling and laughing the whole day. I still remember the smiles and the emotions he impressed on everyone that day. The next time I saw my brother, he was lying in a coffin at a funeral home with no family, with no life in him. I didn't get to see his twinkling eyes, which were always full of joy and laughter. I couldn't hear him say, "Hey, sis," or "Love you, sis," which he expressed anytime we saw or spoke to one another. On December 22nd, 2020, I would learn that my brother Andre was shot and killed by a Columbus police officer. Later, I would see the video of the shooting happening. The moans that I heard coming from my brother sent me into instant hurt. You see, what I also saw were police officers stepping over my brother as he lay on the cold December ground face down for minutes. I didn't see anyone consoling him. I didn't see anyone rendering any aid to my brother. I can't imagine the fear and shock he had about what had just happened. Seeing the video of what has happened to him has caused an enormous fear to police officers for me, because police officers are supposed to protect and serve the citizens. I go into an instant panic attack anytime a police officer is anywhere near me in an everyday setting. Losing Andre has deeply impacted our family. It's hard every May 23rd not to pick up the phone to call and wish him a happy birthday. It's hard not hearing the goofy messages that he would send to me to say that he was thinking about me. It's hard not hearing him call me and tell me about what the grandkids were doing and how you could hear in his voice how they brightened his day. He absolutely loved being a big daddy. It hurts to know that he will physically miss holidays, birthdays, weddings, etc., and the grandbabies. It's hard not hearing him talk about my boys and him telling me what a great job me and my husband have done with them. It's hard not hearing that he's proud of me. Even though I didn't get to see him as often since I live in a different state, he has always been one of my biggest supporters. It's hard knowing that he won't be with the family, cooking, laughing, and entertaining as he always has done during the holidays and other events in our lives. The time from Andre's death until now has been long and agonizing for us. My brother gave us so much to remember, and he will never be forgotten by us. Michelle Hairston, Andre Hill's sister.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is mine. My name is Dr. Shauna Barnett, and I'm here today not only as Andre Hill's sister, but as a representative of a family forever changed and by an irreversible act of violence. Andre was not just a name or a headline. Andre was not just my brother. He was the heart of our family. He was thoughtful, loving, funny, and full of life. He was a son, a father, a brother, a man deeply loved by all who truly knew him. He was the kind of person who made people feel seen and safe. His presence meant something. To me, he was my brother. To our family, he was a source of joy, laughter, and strength. And now his absence means everything. His life was taken in the most brutal and unjust way, without warning, without cause, and without mercy. There was no explanation, no justification, just a sudden violent silence where his voice once was. He died alone, unarmed, and undeserving of what happened to him. And every day since has been marked by grief and disbelief. And from that moment forward, nothing has been the same. Our lives are split into before and after, and we are left with the pain that does not fade. We do not get a second chance. We do not get to rewind time or bring him back. We grieve not only the man we loved, but all the moments that were stolen from us, the birthdays, the holidays, the conversations, the simple joy of being in the same room together. There is no repair, no reversal. The impact of Adam Coy's actions is permanent. My brother's life was taken in the most extreme way, without cause, without humanity, without mercy. What Adam Coy did to my brother was the maximum, and the consequences of that choice, his death, can never be undone. This is why today we're asking for the maximum sentence, because Coy made a decision that delivered the maximum pain, because the weight of what was done deserves the full weight of justice. And just as that cannot be undone, the sentence handed down today should reflect the gravity of what can never be reversed. This is not about vengeance or revenge, it's about accountability, about dignity, about honoring the value of Andre Hill's life and the unimaginable pain left in the wake of his death, and making sure this court sees the full weight of that life that was taken. We carry this pain every day, and we ask you to see us, to hear us, and to deliver a sentence that reflects the gravity of what has been taken from us forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, for the record, if you please just state your name.
Hi, Your Honor. My name is Michelle Stewart.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
am Andre Hill's former spouse. We met when we were 14 years old, went to school together, went to college together, and we had our perfect princess, Carissa Hill. She is the apple of my eye. She was his heart and soul, and our babies, three little Ks is what we call them, K times 3. Those babies meant the world to him. Dre and I kept in constant communication because although Carissa was a grown adult, we always said we still have to raise her. You know, I'm in my 40s, my mom and dad still raised me. He was there for everything. The last time I spoke with Andre was 3 days before he was murdered. We would always go in half, like to buy the grandkids, you know, like a big toy, or I think that year it was like an Xbox, the little handheld one, and then get Carissa a purse or something. I was able to get 2 of those items. Dre's former boss was able to get the other 2 because Dre wasn't there, because he was murdered that night. Dre was such a caring man. He was a gentle giant. He was a beautiful man. We were on our way home one night, and there was a gentleman walking down the street, and he was going like this. Dre did a circle, took off his coat, and gave it to the man out, handed it to him out the window. We used to work at a wing restaurant in Whitehall years ago. There was a homeless woman with a little child that stayed in the back. Dre, we'd get one meal. Dre would give her that meal. That's just who he was. He would give you anything, and he was just gone too soon. And to have to explain to my grandkids, is Big Daddy getting up off the ground, Nana? Why is Big Daddy still laying on the ground after he was shot? Now we can finally have a little closure, and we can explain to our grandkids, now that they're getting older, what happened. There's been numerous occasions, Your Honor, where I've had to get my daughter up off the floor. She's balled, curled up into a ball of depression and just what happened. She was Daddy's little girl. Nobody can ever replace that. And Your Honor, also, and his sister Shauna, she really summed it up for the whole family. I do want to also let you know that we still have faith in the police and our justice system. I live in Gahanna, Ohio. Officer Brown, Officer Cameron, I know all of them. They're very friendly. We still count on the police. I don't have panic attacks when I see the police. If someone looks at me sideways, that's the first thing I'm going to do is call the police. I know women who have beaten their children, men who have murdered their wives. We don't hate men and women. We don't hate the police, Carissa and I, and our grandkids. We don't hate them. Hate is a strong word. but we hate Adam. And our heart breaks for his family, his wife, and his children. They were at home sleeping, as were we. So, thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me the time. We didn't write anything down because it wasn't rehearsed, it was just what came out. Dre was a beautiful man, and he loved them babies, and Carissa was his everything.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your name and who you are, okay?
My name's Carissa Hill, and I'm Andre Hill's daughter. You think you have something to say? I got 5 years worth of stuff to say. I don't even know where to start. I do have 3 children. Their big daddy came home to them every day to explain to them that a police officer took their big daddy away, that he's the reason their big daddy's not here with us no more. It's the hardest thing to do, because those are the people that they tell us to rely on. If something happens, you're supposed to call the police. And that night, someone thought they was doing the right thing, and they called the police, and now my dad's not here anymore. Rather this man gets a life sentence, 15 years, 20 years, it will not change the fact or bring him back. These 5 years, he not only took my dad away, but he took me away. I am no longer able to do the things I was able to do with my dad here. I don't feel safe in Ohio. I don't feel safe around Ohio police officers. And it's very hard to explain to my kids how we're able to trust the police, but they're the same persons that took the person that we all loved away. I didn't just call him my father, I called him my Faja. And I was his Daja, and I was his only child, and my kids are his only grandchildren. When you walk out healthy one day and then you just never come back, it's just very hard to explain to the kids, and even to myself, I don't understand half the time what happened. And what's even worse is sometimes they have it on video, so it's a reminder of how he ended his last couple minutes here on this earth and how he was alone on the cold floor. I just wanted to be there for him. I didn't even know till the next morning. The news channel found out before me. They actually was calling my phone and was asking, where's my dad? And I didn't even know where my dad was. I was calling every hospital in Columbus trying to figure out what happened to my dad. He's never had bad encounters with the police. He's not a harmful man. Everybody that knows him loves him. He doesn't bring conflict. He was just such a lovely man. And once again, I have 5 years worth of stuff I want to say. I just don't even know where to start because he's not here with me. And I'm just here to try to be his voice since he's not here. So one mistake by one bad officer, it changed a lot of lives. I'm sure it changed lives of his family as well, but I just don't even know what else to say. Okay. I do thank you for hearing us and for bringing justice. I was very scared that that wouldn't even happen since that rarely happens in these type of cases with officers. So I just want to thank the jury for seeing everything out and seeing the case for what it was and finally bringing this to some type of end for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else on behalf of the state?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
On behalf of Mr. Coy?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, I
Yes.
think we're going to break it up in different compartments. First and foremost, my heart goes out to the Hill family. Your loss is unimaginable. The empathy that you show here, I can't tell you, I know how it feels because I haven't been in there, but my heart goes out to you. I'd also like to thank you guys for your civility and respect for the process during this entire time, and I appreciate that. And to the Coy family and the law enforcement, my heart goes out to you. You guys are in an impossible situation many times at your job, but again, the civility and the respect for the judicial process, the court process, I thank you for that and for both sides. Your Honor, Ms. Coy would be first, but she would take about two words, Your Honor, and then she would start crying. So Ms. Stevens is going to read her statement with the court's permission.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Trying to sum up who my husband Adam is into words is not an easy task. Duty, service, honor, integrity, truth, and justice are the words that most easily describe Adam, both personally and professionally. Adam served in the U.S. Army when he joined the early entry program at 17 years old and left 2 days after he and I graduated from the same high school in 1995. He's a decorated veteran, receiving multiple awards and commendations, and worked his way up to a sergeant, as well as training officer during his time serving our country. In 2000, Adam came home from the Army and started working at the Delaware County Jail while going through all the phases of the lengthy application process for the Columbus Police Department. During his 19 and a half years on the force, he received many compliments, medals, and awards, and that is who my husband is. Adam and I got married in 2002 and have 3 wonderful sons who are in the courtroom today. We taught them the same morals and values that we so strongly believe in: honesty, loyalty, hard work, and the importance of family. Speaking of family, when we were in our first years of marriage, we took in both of my younger sisters, who are also here today. We always stood as a safe space and home for them. We were actually raising teenagers while starting our own family. Adam, as a husband, father, son, brother, uncle, and friend, has always been our rock. He's the person people come to for help, giving advice and guidance, as well as being the person to provide help for anyone at any time. When he was diagnosed with cancer, Adam was determined to fight, even while being wrongly indicted for a crime he didn't commit. And after over 26 rounds of chemo, 2 stem cell transplants, including 2 30-day stays at the James and full body radiation, he's still continuing to heal and fight to win his battle with cancer and this wrongful conviction. Adam is my soulmate, and we have been together every day for the last 25 years. When I was diagnosed with SLE lupus, an incurable disease that attacks all of your organs, he went to every doctor and every specialist appointment with me. He sat through my monthly IV infusions, and he was always there to help take care of me, until November 4th, when he was convicted of crimes for which he did not commit. As a police officer's wife, you live your life with the knowledge and pit in your stomach that one day he may not come home. But never in a million years did I think I would lose him to a conviction when he was unfortunate enough to be doing his job on duty. He is the foundation of our family, and without that foundation, I'm very afraid for what our family's future holds. However, through all of this, we as a family, because of the lessons that Adam has taught us all, we know that the jury got it completely wrong, and in this case, we will continue to fight, just like Adam has taught us, and appeal this case to the highest courts to get him what we all believe, and that is truth and justice. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Coy would like to give a statement at this point, Your Honor, and then I'll make the legal arguments after that.
All right, thank you.
My entire life, I wanted to serve. In my junior year of high school, I signed a 5-year contract with the United States Army. Then 2 days after graduation, I reported to Fort McClellan, Alabama, for training in the Military Police Corps. I served both stateside and overseas, rising to the rank of sergeant, receiving numerous medals and ribbons performing my duty. After being honorably discharged, I returned to Ohio seeking a career in law enforcement, first as a deputy and then as a police officer, again receiving ribbons and medals for my service. For nearly 2.5 decades, I responded to thousands of runs where it was my job to establish order from whatever chaos prompted the call. I was trained and conditioned multiple times each and every year. I also paid for and attended additional non-mandatory training on my own through the Ohio through the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. In those trainings, I was taught to respond to a threat without hesitation, because action beats reaction. On the night in question, I did just that. I saw what I believed was a silver snub-nosed revolver rising up to me. I yelled, "Gun!" "He has a gun," to my partner, so she knew what I saw, as we are trained. And I reacted the same way I had in hundreds of training scenarios. I drew and fired my weapon to stop a threat, to protect myself and my partner. I believe in the law. That is why I dedicated my entire adult life to it. I feel my actions were justified and within the reasonable officer condition and the standard as set forth by case law. I disagree with the jury's decision because I believe they did not understand the response a police officer is trained to perform as it relates to the Ohio Revised Code, relative case law, and they were confused by the jury instructions they received and deliberated by. So because of that, I will be appealing the ruling, not just for myself, but for everyone in the law enforcement community, doing a complicated, dangerous, ever-changing job in a world of policing. This decision in this case has far-reaching effects on the police departments of this great nation. With that said, I would like to thank my family for their support with my long battle with cancer that coincided with this process, of which I am still recovering and continued treatment. And additionally, I would like to express my overwhelming gratitude to my friends, brothers and sisters wearing the badge for their continued support and encouragement to stay strong and have faith in our judicial system. This case and my actions have affected both sides of this courtroom. It weighs on me heavily that a family lost a loved one. My heart goes out to them. Thank you all for listening to me today, and your mindful consideration is deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. First, Your Honor, just some procedural aspects. We did have him sign the notice form. With regards to some things that we must put on the record, Your Honor, before the appellate process, I'll just walk through those first. Number one, Your Honor, we would ask that you set aside all the verdicts in this case and grant a Rule 29 motion despite the jury's verdicts. I'll go into the arguments in a little bit. Second, Your Honor, there's 274 days of jail time credit, I believe the government, and we agree to that. Third, Your Honor, we are asking for a bond after you put the sentence, Your Honor. We're asking for an appellate bond for several reasons. The first group of reasons, Your Honor, is that this is a case of first impression. What do I mean by that? Our Court of Appeals has not had a case with involved an officer shooting that goes up through it here in Franklin County. The Supreme Court has very little documentation on that as well. The second thing, Your Honor, is in that same concept is there is no OJI. And for the record, Ohio jury instructions, that's what OJI means. And in terms of that, Your Honor, jury instructions are formulated, they're tested, they go through committees, they go through judicial screenings, they go through legislative screenings. And those jury instructions are fine-tuned and they evolve as society evolves, and they evolve as crimes evolve, and they evolve as deliberations. We learn things from the jury instructions, how to change them and how to make them better. As the court knows, there are no jury instructions in this type of situation. We create those from federal case law. We create those from state case law. We create them from the facts. And so those are difficult things to do, Your Honor. So we believe that one of the reasons for our request for bond is just that this is such a unknown area in terms of appellate issues. There are multiple appellate issues to be examined in this case alone. The court already dealt with one. However, the Court of Appeals will determine that as well, the alleged Brady violation. What jury instructions, what the experts were allowed to opine on, those are all things that will go into factor. The second concept, Your Honor, centers his health. The court's aware of some basics with his health, Your Honor, as much as we could get from the Janes. He's had ups and downs of that treatment. He's always complied with it, bone marrow transplants, stem cell transplants. But currently, Your Honor, there's problems. There's blood being lost. They can't find out why and what's causing it. The key is, I think you've been informed, is that infection is basically a death sentence for him. And unfortunately, our jails and our prison systems, that's a much higher probability of receiving that. Next, Your Honor, with regards to bond, while out on bond, there were no issues. There was never an issue in any way, shape, or form with Adam, and there wouldn't be if you granted a bond. Your Honor, we would ask that a bond be set in this situation. The next topic, just for the record, Your Honor, I believe has been covered briefly, and that's the merger of the allied of the offenses. And for the record, I believe State versus Hubbard, Ohio 10th District 213 covers that, and we believe that these are offenses of similar import and therefore would merge in terms of the sentencing. Your Honor, then now towards the argument to set aside, and then specifically I'm going to start with the setting aside of the felony murder conviction and that charge. And there's two basic concepts, Your Honor, for that, with the felonious assault involved as well. And the first one is, Your Honor, that the process involving a police officer shooting doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at the grand jury. We don't know what the special prosecutors put forth. We don't know if they give Graham v. Connor. We don't know what's given. We don't know what's educated. And there's no parameters. We don't know if an expert testifies and gives an opinion. And if he or she does that, is it pro-prosecution or pro-defense? And so that system has to change, Your Honor. More importantly, Your Honor, directly, no officer should, in the state of Ohio, should ever be charged with felony murder with regards to an on-duty shooting or on-duty use of force. And the reason I say that, Your Honor, is because they're acting within the scope of their duties. Now, that same concept has been addressed by the Supreme Court of Ohio. And the Supreme Court of Ohio addressed that with officers on gun specifications. And that was State v. White that the court is now very familiar with. So that case went up because the court sentenced an officer on a gun specification. So Justice O'Donnell, in writing the majority opinion of State v. White, and I quote, said, "A firearm specification is not intended to deter a peace officer from possessing a firearm because an officer is required to carry a firearm, permitted to use it when necessary in the course of carrying out the duties of law enforcement. The General Assembly did not intend the firearm specifications to apply to a police officer who fired a gun, issued to him to protect himself, fellow officers, and the public when he thought someone was about to brandish a weapon." That's a direct quote. Again, they're required to carry a weapon. They're required, Your Honor, in this situation to respond to a threat. They have to perceive it and they have to respond. They can't not do anything. That's a violation of their duty. Justice O'Connor, in another concurring opinion on that, continued to emphasize what she described as the absurdity resulting from the application of a firearm specification in a case that revolves around whether the officer made a mistake in judgment. That's exactly what we have in here, Your Honor. Mr. Coy was mistaken about whether there was a silver snub-nose revolver in Mr. Hill's hand or a set of keys. But he perceived that and he perceived a threat. He was mistaken. Now, if you take the same logic that the Supreme Court analyzed the State v. White on gun specifications and you apply it to felony murder, okay? So on felony murder, Your Honor, for the record, felony murder, the purpose is to deter inherently criminal behavior while committing a felony of the first or second degree. The classic example is if two people go to rob a bank. They're agreeing in criminal intent to rob a bank. The one person's the lookout, the other person goes in with a gun. The person who's lookout doesn't know he has a gun, but goes in, there's a problem with the teller, and there's a shooting. Because they formed the criminal intent for a felony of the first or second degree, and then someone died, both parties are guilty of a felony murder. It was intended to stop the use of felonies of the first degree, or to deter it. Even if a person went in without a gun and said, "Hey, give me all your money," and pretended to have a gun, and the teller had a heart attack, that person's guilty of felony murder because they had a prior belief, a prior intent to commit a bank robbery, and they were doing it, and then someone died during the result. So the criminal intent to commit a crime is of the first and second degree. Now, Ms. Stevens and I have spent a lot of time lately scouring the legislative notes of felony murder. And not one place in the legislative notes that our legislature puts forth do they ever talk about the concept of felony murder when they created it, when they put it into a law and into the Ohio Revised Code and jury instructions from it, did they ever mention a police shooting on it? Because it would never enter their mind, because it doesn't make logical sense. No officer says in their mind, when responding or reacting to a perceived threat, I'm going to commit a felony. And because of that felony, someone dies. That doesn't happen, Your Honor. That's not the training. The absurdity of that charge being used in this situation has enabled special prosecutors and prosecutors' office across the state to weaponize laws. And when I mean weaponize laws, these are laws, felony murder, meant for violent offenders, and to use it against those now tasked with upholding the law. So they're taking a law, felony murder, that is to deter violent offenses by criminals, and they're using it against people who have to uphold the law. Just like the gun specification, the initial thing is deterrence about people using guns. If you voluntarily use a gun in your criminal offense, you get an enhanced penalty. So the legislature said, hey, the punishment there should be enhanced because you're voluntarily using this gun. You made the choice to use the gun. Same way with the general deterrence of a gun specification, to deter others from doing it. That's the same concept with felony murder. Every single person in this courtroom, Your Honor, knows that Adam Coy didn't abandon and stop eating his lunch that night to go commit a felony. He announced gun to his partner. He has a gun. He made a mistake. To use felony murder on a life sentence with no chance roll for 15 years on a mistake, on an on-duty, on a perceived threat, shows the weaponization, shows the absurdity of that charge, Your Honor. Judge, we had a conversation on the record in back. We were determining what evidence to leak, many times sidebars in the back, outside the presence of the jury. And you were tasked that night to watch the video and see. You came back on the record and said, when you realized Adam finding out that Mr. Hill didn't have a gun, you stated he looked like an empathetic human being who just found out he made a mistake. That's what happened here, Your Honor. Everyone knows he didn't go to Oberlin Drive with the purpose of committing a felony. And that's the issue with felony murder. That's the problem that we have when the prosecutors decide to use that. So I implore our county prosecutor, I implore the people who do these types of cases to examine that and our legislature to look at it. But you can take a stand and overturn that, Your Honor, and set it aside. Now, reckless homicide, one of the charges here, I understand the logic. I understand they're given a police officer procedures. Whether they follow them or not, an officer could be reckless in their duties. Absolutely. That's a logical conclusion and argument that jurors have to go through, and I respect that. But to then do it on felony murder, Your Honor, is just wrong. The second area that I want to talk to about the felony murder and why you should set it aside, Your Honor, is that we talked about OJI, the Ohio Jury Instructions, okay? And we don't have them, so there's no guidance, there's no tested, there's no improving, there's no not improving. So what we have, Your Honor, is it starts with the federal cases, civil, but the federal system also has a criminal charge just for these types of situations, and it's called a violation of civil rights. And that's evolved over how many years in our judicial system, in our criminal justice system. So when you have a violation of civil rights, when a law enforcement comes into contact with a civilian, there's measurements federally, and there's procedures. Now, you gave, you let the experts opine on the federal standard of within the national standards and things of that nature, and that was your choice. Other judges here in this county use the state where it's reasonable. But when you take that, Your Honor, the issue is that specifically tailored those procedures to a violation of civil rights. That's why they apply it. So you have a checklist, you have a guide, a roadmap of how to follow and whether it matches or not. So it makes logical sense, just like reckless homicide does, a violation of civil rights in federal court makes sense because it's a known thing. But when you apply those standards of whether or not they follow the national standards, policies and procedures, and you apply it to a state case, a state code, a state charge of felony murder that has never been contemplating a police shooting, that's where the jurors have trouble. No one will convince me that the grand jury in this situation understood the complexities of felony murder and how the case law and Graham v. Connor and all those go to apply to it. And that's why the system has to change. It has to be modified. The analysis that we put the jury in was if you find that the officer didn't comply with those standards, or did, if you find that they didn't, somehow the jump goes to, therefore, he must have had the intent to do a felony. If he didn't follow those, he must have had the intent to commit a felony for felony murder. And that's just wrong. That's inconsistent with logic. It's inconsistent with the federal system. It's inconsistent. And it's our fault as a justice system because we don't have any instructions on this. We don't have OJ on it. We haven't tested it. We haven't put it through the committees. We haven't put it through the steps that happen, Your Honor. Adam Coy had no intent to commit a felony at that instant when he had to make a split decision, Your Honor, that they're trained on each and every day when they go to their job. We believe in the criminal justice system. We believe, Your Honor, at this council table behind us in the jury system. We have to, because if not, then what's the point? Everyone in this courtroom believes in that process. And we will believe in the appellate process, Your Honor. I was disappointed this morning when I found out that our county prosecutor is having a press conference outside the courtroom right after this. And at first I'm like, oh, why would you politicize this? Why? I mean, and more. Again, hopefully it's going to be for good, and hopefully it's going to be improved, and hopefully it's going to be improved and say, okay, hey, this is a wrong charge for these types of cases. Our system is imperfect. There are innocent people in prison. We know that. We know that from this DNA cases in Illinois, here in Ohio. We know that. Sometimes juries get it wrong. That's why we have an appellate process, Your Honor. Adam will appeal in this stuff. I've had him sign the notice of the timing, Your Honor. I've had him go through that. We will order the transcripts, and we will continue this in a respectful way. And I appreciate your time, Your Honor, your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, with respect to the arguments regarding setting aside the jury's verdict, the state respectfully asked the court to overrule that request from defense. The defendant raised an affirmative defense to attempt to demonstrate that his actions were reasonable, that he was justified. He failed to make that defense. He didn't meet that burden. So the arguments about the felony murder rule and intent and not knowing what happened at the grand jury and issues with jury instructions, all of those things are things that are not for the court's consideration at this point in time. He can appeal those things, but we went through the process. We addressed all of the things that needed to be addressed. Defense was involved with the jury instructions. They've had several trials involving officer shootings. I think to argue at this point that the instructions were unfair is just simply not true. Additionally, with respect to the issue of bond, it's the state's position that Mr. Coy is not entitled to a bond at this point in time. He has been convicted. The landscape is changed now. There are considerations that the court needs to factor into that decision. At this point, because he has been convicted, he does not have a right to a bond under 2937.722. It's the state's position bond should not be granted under Appellate Rule 8 at this point in time. Since he has been convicted, and based on the nature of the crime here, we're talking about a murder conviction, it's inappropriate to grant bond at this time. The incentive to flee at this point becomes greater because of the conviction. Mr. Coy also, because of his position in the community and access to family, friends, et cetera, likely would have the financial means that maybe the average citizen may not have in terms of being a flight risk as well. This issue can be raised with the Court of Appeals, and therefore it's the state's position that the request for bond should be overruled, as should the request to readdress felony murder rule. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. First, as to the motion to set aside the verdict, the court, I think, previously had already made a determination as a matter of law that the matter could go to the jury, that the state had presented sufficient elements of each and every element of the charge for the jury to make a determination and consideration as to all of the charges that were before them. The court still finds, as a matter of law, that the motion to set aside the verdict will be denied. As to the question of bond, at this time, the court is not going to grant bond in this matter. The defendant has been convicted of a serious offense, and all of the reasons outlined by the state are concerns as well. Obviously, that's an issue that can be raised at the Court of Appeals, and if they decide to place on a bond, that would be their decision. Okay, I think it's already been noted on the record that each of these offenses merge for sentencing purposes, and the state has elected for the court to sentence as to count 1. Therefore, the sentence of the court is the following. As to count 1, there is a sentence of 15 years to life to be served at the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. Fine and court cost are waived. Record does reflect 274 days of jail time credit. Because of the fact that Mr. Coy will be going before the parole board after 15 years, post-release control doesn't apply, and he will go before the parole board at the appropriate time. These cases are always very difficult. Court has these types of cases in which individuals on both sides of this sit before the court. First of all, I want to echo what Mr. Collins said. I think everyone has been respectful throughout this process. Trials, by their very nature, as they always start off, are very emotional and difficult for people to have to sit through. The court absolutely understands that and gets that. And sometimes it's too difficult for people to do so. But the court, throughout this entire process, has not needed to admonish anyone about their behavior throughout the process. And so the court appreciates that as well. I think it was said by Ms. Carissa Hill, it really doesn't matter what the court ultimately does today in terms of sentencing. What we try to do is provide whatever anyone defines as justice. What the court does is not going to bring back Mr. Hill. What the court does may not bring closure to the family. What the court does may not bring healing to the family. I don't know that the court system is designed to be able to do all that. What the court has to do is take a look at the information before it and impose a sentence that the court finds is appropriate as prescribed by law. And that's what the court is doing in this case. I think it was also indicated how cases such as these impact both sides. Yes, it's something that all the families are going to have to live with. But yes, Mr. Hill, though, will not be here to have opportunities to spend time with his family. I know that the jurors took this matter very seriously in their deliberations and reached what they consider to be a fair verdict in this case. The court knows, because of the types of cases that the court deals with every day, that the jobs of law enforcement is difficult. I think everyone in the community gets that. Yes, they're difficult jobs that require split-second decisions. And what the community hopes is that we hire individuals and train individuals that when the moment comes to make those split-second decisions, that they make the right decision under the circumstances. And we know that the circumstances change, and the circumstances are different. So that's why officers carry such a large amount of responsibility in making the decisions that they have to make. Now, just like the jury, I obviously had an opportunity to review the video as part of the evidence in this case. And I guess, I mean, the jurors didn't say this, but at least in my reviewing it, I'm assuming they placed some weight on the fact that Mr. Hill did absolutely everything that you asked him to do. You asked him to come out. You asked him to come out with his hands up, and that's exactly what he did. It was not like Mr. Hill was trying to evade. It wasn't like Mr. Hill was running at you. He was doing exactly what you told him to do, which is come out of the garage with your hands up. And so I think that carried a lot of weight when we look at the responsibility that we place on law enforcement to make the very difficult and tough decisions that they have to make each and every day. And it may be troubling to the community. I can't speak for the community. But that when someone complies with everything that the officer asks them to do and still gets shot, that officer, that individual needs to be held responsible for the actions that they took. And I think that's what the jurors did in this case, and that is why the court is imposing the sentence that the court is imposing in this case. All right, Mr. Coy, Mr. Collins did provide me the certificate of defense counsel. This is essentially acknowledging that you know and understand that you do have the right to appeal this decision. And I'm assuming that you've already had discussions at this point in time about counsel. And Mr. Collins, it's my understanding the court will not need to appoint counsel, that counsel has been retained.
Counsel's already in place and will go forward, and it does not need a court-appointed appellate attorney. The only thing I know that we'll be applying for is for the indigency in terms of the transcript, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Collins, if you could pull up the notice on your screen. Okay. Hold on. It should.
This is the notice that you signed.
Is it up on your screen?
Yep, it is, Your Honor. Yes.
All right. Mr. Coy, you should see on your screen, notice of duties to enroll as a violent offender. Do you see that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
And looking down, I see what appears to be a signature here. Is this your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm assuming that Mr. Collins went over with you what these responsibilities will entail once you are returned to the community.
He did.
Okay, do you have any questions about your obligations and responsibilities to enroll as a violent offender, sir?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
Okay. All right, are there any other matters that we need to get on the record?
Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
that's okay.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe the other counts, you need to run them concurrent.
No, no, since they merge.
Oh, you
Yeah,
need a merger of law, okay.
yeah, no, since they merge, and the entry will appropriately reflect that, that they merge and are not concurrent. Okay, anything else for the record on behalf of the state,
No, Your Honor.
on behalf of the defendant?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you.
Nikki.
Yeah. Mr. Collins, the prison imposed form have been completed?
Didn't think we needed that because of the parole board.
Could be right. Yep,
Because of the,
right, because since it's not PRC.
in life, it
I-
was a
I-
life
I agree
sentence.
with you.
Okay.
And the other form's been signed
Yep,
and saved on the drive?
yes. We'll be-
Yeah, we don't need this. Okay.
They don't give you pads of paper?
Good job, Emily.
Testing, testing.
My mom giving one more.
Testing, testing.
Is that gonna work?
Testing, testing. Let me know when you're all good to go. Just put one more up here, sorry. So it's not in the way of your papers. Is everybody ready to go? Good morning. Today is a solemn yet significant day in our county and city. Before anything else, I want to honor the family of Mr. Andre Hill. Ms. Shauna, Carissa, Michelle, and all those standing in love and memory with them today. Your strength in the face of unimaginable grief is a testament to your love for Mr. Hill and your resilience in the pursuit of justice. I am deeply sorry for your loss. While there are no words that can erase the pain of his absence, today's sentencing affirms a critical truth. Accountability is essential to rebuilding trust in law enforcement and our justice system. There is no doubt that policing is among the most challenging, dangerous, and complex professions in our community. It is physically demanding, emotionally taxing, and requires the ability to make split-second decisions that can alter lives forever. That burden and the immense responsibility that comes with it must never be overlooked or taken for granted. And I want to be clear, the vast majority of Columbus police officers rise to the challenge every single day with integrity, professionalism, and deep commitment to the people they serve. But honoring that truth does not mean we ignore another. With the badge comes immense power, and with that power, an even greater responsibility to uphold the constitutional rights and dignity of every resident. These truths are not in conflict. We can and we must hold both. And when that power is gravely misused, accountability is not an option. It is essential. Under the strong leadership and continued advocacy of Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant and FOP President Brian Steele, I am confident that this deep commitment to accountability and the gravity of responsibility is reflected in the culture and practices of the Columbus Division of Police. Accountability is not about targeting individuals or organizations. It's about strengthening the systems that serve us all. It's about ensuring that power is exercised with care and that harm, especially when inflicted by those sworn to protect, is not met with mere silence or impunity. There are no winners today. 2 lives have been forever changed, and 2 families carry the weight of that reality. But even in this painful moment, we take an important step forward in a much larger journey. Our journey towards a justice system that is more transparent, more accountable, and more grounded in the dignity of every person it serves. I want to take a moment to recognize the unwavering efforts of the prosecution team, Chief Counsel Renee Allen and former Deputy Chief Counsel Anthony Pearson, who worked tirelessly and led this case with courage, integrity, and conviction. As a law enforcement agency, the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office is not here to take sides. We are here to uphold the law. Our commitment is to justice, no matter the individual, no matter the uniform, and no matter how difficult the case may be. I would again like to acknowledge the leadership of Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant, her team, and FOP President Brian Steele. Their commitment to building a community-focused department represents the kind of change this moment demands. And again, to the family and loved ones of Mr. Andre Hill, I want to extend my deepest condolences to you. May today bring you a moment of solace as you continue to grieve this unimaginable loss. Justice is not a single decision. It is a continuous commitment. As a fellow law enforcement agency, we too must commit to building systems that reflect our values: accountability, transparency, and transformative justice for all, because it is the only way that we move forward. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to invite Mr. Hill's sister, Dr. Shauna Barnett, to share a few words. Hi everyone, thanks for coming, thanks for having us out here. I really don't have too much to say except for I am glad that we are finally seeing some closures, not closing everything, because as I said earlier, the pain doesn't go away. We just have to learn to deal with it. The sentencing is not going to bring my brother back. The true justice will have him here, but I'm glad that we have come to this conclusion thus far, and hopefully we can make a change. Things need to change. That's all I have to say.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Hale. I'm the cousin of Andre Hill. A few things to say. First and foremost, I want to thank Ben Crump. Without his involvement, this probably wouldn't have gotten this far. He really helped get Andre's case recognized and in the spotlight. We need to thank Anthony and Renee for putting in every effort they had all these years to get this case to trial and getting a conviction. They were able to bring justice to Andre and our family. We will forever be grateful. Andre was an amazing person, and his life was cut short by a cowardly police officer who should have never been still on the job. Until we start getting rid of the bad apples in the police departments that we do see, and have major police reform, especially in training, we will continue to have more Andre Hills being killed by the police. Thank you.
I will just say thank you to everybody who was there for us as support, to see the video for us. We saw it in the jury, especially. Thank you for coming up with the conclusion. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you.
Again, thank you for your time, and we continue to extend our deepest condolences to the Hill family out of deep respect for this family, as well as the ongoing legal proceedings. we will not be taking any questions at this time. Thank you.